7 o'clock. Let's start the meeting. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right. Select order of business. I have no changes to the order of business tonight, so we'll move right into the superintendent's report, Brian.
Thank you, Carl. Good evening, everyone. Nice to see you. I'm extremely proud and pleased to introduce the two recipients for the 2021-2022 school year for the Superintendent Staff Awards. The first recipient, Becky Stapleton. I know she doesn't like to be the center of attention, but too bad tonight. Becky has been in the New Hartford Public Schools for 22 years. 22 wonderful years. Becky currently is a sixth grade teacher here at Ann Antolini School. Becky goes above and beyond. She's a role model not only to her students, but to the staff as well. As the board knows, we instituted a new math program, illustrative math. Sixth grade was a pilot program for illustrative math a few years ago. Becky was on the forefront. Becky led her team, the sixth grade team, to great success as far as delivery of math in sixth grade. That led the entire district to implement illustrative math, which has been very successful. That's to Becky's leadership. We started our Readers Workshop reading program a few years ago. Becky was instrumental. She went to training off campus, outside of district, and provided professional development training to teachers here in the entire district. Becky goes beyond as far as expanding educational learning opportunities for kids, and I am pleased to acknowledge and introduce Becky Stapleton as a Superintendent Staff Award winner. Let me just introduce Rick and then we'll take a picture together. Thank you. The next recipient and final recipient of the night is Rick Koenig. Rick is a custodian at New Hartford Elementary School. Rick has been in the New Hartford Public Schools for 18 wonderful years. You know, as I talked to Principal Kelly Carroll, Rick treats New Hartford Elementary School like it's its own home. The school is immaculate. The hallway floors, you could eat off of. I mean that. Rick is always interacting with students. He just goes above and beyond. I know I've said that many times tonight. Working with the pre-K kids, I can remember back a couple of years ago, we had the pre-K ceremony, and Rick was a big part of that pre-K celebration, moving up ceremony, where all the pre-K kids thanked Rick for everything he does for those kids in that program. So I'm just so pleased and proud of everything Rick has given to the Hartford Public Schools. At this time, I'd like to acknowledge Rick and give him a big round of applause for the Superintendent Staff Award.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Kat. The next piece of the agenda, I would like to inform the board that a few board meetings ago, we did approve a change to the Board of Education meeting schedule to move it to April 13th from the April 5th meeting because Carl and I are presenting the budget to the town that day. That's why it was moved to April 13th. With that, we have our playback here at Antolini School this year, the sixth grade play. That'll be April 13th and April 14th at 7 p.m. in this room right here. So I am proposing if we can move the time of the meeting on April 13th to 6 o'clock in the Antolini Media Center. Any thoughts on that, to do that? I don't know if it's tough to get to that meeting or.
I'll make it work. Everyone okay getting here? So, 13th? And does anyone Penny, I know you mentioned it. I don't know if you wanted to go to the play. Does that leave enough time for, we can try to be quick if people want to get over to the play at 7.
It's not going to be a long agenda, so I think
Right,
we should be
right.
fine.
Okay, everyone's good?
Do we need a motion?
Yes, please.
I'd like to make a motion that we change our meeting time on April 13th to 6 PM in the Library Media Center at Ann Angelina School.
Okay.
Thanks, Tom.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
You're welcome.
All right, anything else, Brian, you have to talk about?
That's it. Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to public comment. It doesn't look like anyone would like to talk tonight, so that's great. So we'll move on to the consent agenda. Anyone have anything they want to pull from the minutes or discuss? Or can I have a motion?
Make a motion, we accept the consent agenda.
One second.
Any discussion? Any impeccable minutes once again?
Thank you, Carl.
Another $100 saved for the district.
This is true. Think of all the money that's
We
saved.
appreciate it. Okay.
We can buy another Chromebook.
All right, any discussion on anything there?
Nope.
All right, all in favor of approving the consent agenda? Unanimous. Boy, this is going fast. All right. Moving on to reports. Mary, I think you said we're going to talk about 2 reports tonight.
Yeah,
Do you wanna
so
go through them?
we won't be reviewing the third policy that's listed on the report, just the first 2.
That's the personnel one.
Correct.
Okay.
So the first policy is P5141.4. This is an existing policy with the edits in the highlighted sections. So the first page is about reporting of child abuse and neglect. Give everyone a chance to do that.
Did the committee make any changes to the recommendations on this one?
We just made one small change on page C.
What change was made?
On page C at the bottom, it says, under establishment of confidential records policy. The second to last paragraph, the confidential rapid response team shall consist of 1, a local teacher, we added comma, principal, and the superintendent.
Can I ask you a question?
Well, I'm sorry.
You got something, you can go first, sir.
Yeah, I just, where you, say that again, a local teacher? I'd say a local teacher and superintendent.
A local teacher, comma, principal, and the superintendent.
Oh, so that's not in the file we
Yeah,
have.
we added principal in there.
Okay.
Just out of curiosity, if there is a report of something, abuse like that, who are they reporting to you, Brian, or the police? Is it, is there
First, they
a
report
chain
these-
of command?
Yeah, they report to DCF first. And this is a very serious accusations here. So that's when the police get involved and I get involved. To rise to the level of involving the police.
And everything else Mary highlighted in highlighted in bold, this is all changes to the
Yeah.
policy from
Yeah.
Gabe?
All addition.
Any other questions on that? Good to go. The next one? Everyone good?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, and the second policy, P 5131.6, students, alcohol and drugs. The section in red has been added. We didn't make any changes during the committee meeting.
Just for future reference, why in some of them is it bold and highlighted and others it's red? Because when I get these packets, I don't know.
They change it up just a little bit. from the
Yeah, they
shade.
keep us on our toes. I just don't know why the,
Yeah.
the
That
difference.
actually always confuses me too.
So in red here, this is all the changes.
Add it.
Right.
You don't catch kids like at this age, like smoking in the bathrooms or anything, do you? Or vaping? Is that what they?
We have not thus far. Fantastic kids, but we have not thus far, no.
You're both first reads, right?
Yes, these are both.
So as far as this policy, drug and alcohol policy, it references another policy for disciplinary action. Is that a whole different policy?
You want that, the new,
Well, I mean, the black text says any student found to be violating this student conduct policy will be dealt with in accordance with regulations set by the school system. And the new part talks about cannabis to be dealt with in the same manner as alcohol.
Yeah.
But what is that manner? I guess that's my question. What are we referring to? This seems like it's a standalone policy, yet there's no teeth attached to it. Where's the teeth?
they just want to make the point very clear that what you would discipline a student who has alcohol, have the same punishment as a student who's in possession of marijuana.
You're asking what the punishment would be, Tom?
Well, it just says, it references the policy. What policy is that? I guess it's not attached, it's a separate policy. That's what I'm asking, I guess. Why doesn't this have its own
Yeah.
set of repercussions to it, I guess?
Yeah,
Now I have to,
Yeah.
you have to cross-reference this with another policy. I'm asking that question.
I don't think we have to worry about another policy. I just felt that, not I did, but CABE, or excuse me, the state legislature felt that best placed in here, in this part of our policy. But I don't think, we don't have to put this in another reference, another policy as far as this is concerned.
But it does reference it.
I don't think there's any,
I'm not trying to be a pain, Brian.
No, I
I'm just asking what.
yeah, I
says
understand.
It'll be violating the student conduct policy will be dealt with in accordance with the regulations set by the school system. What regulations are those? I don't want to open ourselves up to
Sure.
ambiguity, and all of a sudden we're handing out some sort of disciplinary action that is against the policy.
Yeah.
A policy, whatever policy, I'm just asking what that policy is.
So I think what they're talking about, if we have to refer to punishment, could raise up to suspension. I think that's the referring to other parts of our policy, right? I think that's what they're referring to there as far as looking at other parts of our policy where we have specific infractions of students. I think that's what they're referring to.
But, I mean, is it, again, so if student A comes to school, and I can hope, obviously, hopefully this isn't happening with alcohol, and he gets 2 days suspension.
Right.
Student B comes with a bag of marijuana, and he gets 5 days suspension because there's some sort of, there's no set guideline, are we? That's all I'm asking.
No,
What policy are we following to discipline these children, if it came to that?
Yeah,
Hopefully, obviously, it never
that's a
does.
great question. So it's not going to specify, okay, kid comes in, it's called with alcohol, this is 2 days, you're suspended out of school. It gives that flexibility to a principal to decide how many days. This policy is just stating, just make sure you're consistent with the kid who brings in alcohol and the kid who's caught with marijuana. That's what they're saying. But when you talk the, reference of other policies, just be consistent as far as those infractions are concerned.
Your question, Tom, too, is those other policies exist. I mean, they do have them.
Well, I know they do exist. I get that. I'm sure they do exist. I just don't know why they're not, I don't know why this one doesn't
Be
have
here.
a policy behind it, where it
Yeah.
seems like all the other ones we've discussed
Sure.
went to long lengths of,
Hmm.
if this happens, then this happens, and then you go see this, you get a meeting with a parent, and then after that, it goes to stage, phase 2, that's all. This one seems very, and nothing to it,
Right. General, yeah.
very general,
Yeah.
correct.
Well, more than that, it's subjective,
Correct.
which is,
Is
I don't
that
think what we
subjective
want.
in consultation with the parent, though? I mean, isn't that, I mean, it's their child. I mean, obviously you would need to,
It's not subjective as far as asking a parent of how many days do you think your child should be punished. Of course, you're always going through due process, sit across the table from a parent or calling a parent and discussing the situation. So that's the process with that.
This is just because of the recent legalization of marijuana in our state, correct? So now we're just treating marijuana and alcohol the same. No need for new policy because we already have a policy around alcohol.
Yes.
Tom, would you like it better if there was a reference in this policy as to which policy it refers to for disciplinary action?
I think that'd be make it clear for everyone. I mean, I'm not trying to start a federal case over this.
No.
I'm just asking you read this first paragraph, and obviously the same paragraph says treat the first paragraph the same. Where does that go? I just remember going through a lot of thick policies for 15 pages that talk about exactly the steps to be taken. And this one seems to stand alone by itself. But again, I don't want to.
this refers to regulations set by school system. Do we have a set of regulations? So it takes away the subjectivity of the suspension?
Well, couldn't you just make it in accordance with our disciplinary
That's what I.
Policy?
that's what I was thinking.
Well, that'd be perfect.
Right,
If
policy
you
number
put policy
whatever.
number X, Y, Z
Right.
on there, then you're all set.
Right.
It references right back to it, and there's no ambiguity to it. And there's no.
And you would think that, right, if someone's caught with alcohol, if someone's caught with marijuana,
Mhm.
there's a 5-day suspension
Right.
or a 10-day suspension, whatever it might be.
Mhm.
Should be very clear.
Yeah.
Because how could you be subjective? You're caught with, and again, an ounce or a pound?
Right.
Your suspension is different?
Yeah, it's not, but yes, I know
Right.
what your point you're making, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think we're in agreement to reference the specific policy of disciplinary policy within our policies. That makes sense. It's almost like they made it too vague there.
Right.
maybe intentionally, so we could change it.
Well, I don't think CABE is, right?
Right.
CABE isn't prescribing.
Right.
It's suspension period. They're leaving it up to the district.
Exactly.
Right.
So then are we taking just our standard disciplinary policy and
I guess we'd have to know what that is, Brian.
Yeah,
right?
do we want to review, or have the subcommittee review what the policy is to make sure it makes sense relative to what we're talking about here? I assume it does, but
How would students go through?
it would be good to at least review it to make sure. Unless that policy references specific behaviors, where you might have to add this behavior. Okay. Good catch, Tom.
Prior to the addition of what Kate wanted here, was there a problem with the alcohol and drug policy that you guys had?
No.
Carl, was there an issue with that policy
No,
prior to the
no.
addition of what Kate's doing? So wasn't Kate just saying, treat marijuana the same as everything else?
Right.
So why all the discussion?
Well, it is a change, so, and it references it references our disciplinary policy, which is worth at least looking at.
Well, I guess, I mean, just for Travis, how often do we look at our policies, right? We've got a lot of policies, right? So how often are those policies brought back to the table to be reviewed? Is it when CABE makes an adjustment and sends
Yes.
something over?
Yes.
Right, so we don't look at these annually, right? They're looked at.
Just
As
as a
a
change
change.
is made.
I know we've looked at disciplinary policy, but that could have been 4 years ago.
Mhm.
All right. Anything else? We don't have to vote on this since it's the first.
Can I just, the last policy, Mary, that's down here. We're not looking at that, the
No, because
Subcommittee has
there's
some
gonna be
additional
more
changes?
changes, so we're not doing that one.
That's fine.
All right. That's all we got, folks.
motion to adjourn at 7:22?
Second by Mary. All in favor?
We're not doing that one tonight. I think
Tony?
there's Travis changes to be made to it.
Unanimous.
Just saying that.
Thanks again.